much.
Your number actually.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Let's just drop it. So apart from the hymn, I guess we all have it. So church and community development, and we say that this course is an examination of practical approach to church and community development. Practical approach, we'll be looking at how the church will be involved in the community development, the essence and the value of the local church's engagement in community development, and then we'll further examine available resources such as abilities, giftings, and skills, funding and training in church, parachurch, and community organizations. And then we'll explore the role, students explore the role those engaged in Christian ministry can play in partnering communities to utilize these resources to empower communities to attain appreciable development. All right, so when you look at the outline, Francis, if you could mute Justice.
Okay, done.
Yeah. So there are some reading list that has been attached to the outline for you. I'm sure some of these books, when you go online, you may get some of them. The ones you cannot get, you try to get a hard copy, possibly wherever you can. But I'll be dwelling on one of the books most. Maybe this is it. It's called Your Kingdom Come.
Okay.
Your Kingdom Come. It's written by Jaconda, Suleiman Jaconda. I'll be using this most of the time.
Please, is it part of the recommended reading list?
Yeah, it is. Actually,
because I'm trying to locate it on the reading list.
I think it's at the back. After Govenda.
The second page.
The second page.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, thank you.
I have this book as well that can help. It's called Good News to the Poor. It's written by Chester. I'm not sure you see well. Good News to the Poor. It's also in the reading list. And then.
Oh, okay.
This should be popular for us to get. Total Church. I'm sure some of us have seen this one before. Total Church, also by Chester. Tim Chester and Steve Timmis. Yeah. But I think what can help is if, I'm not sure how we can do it. Assuming we were meeting physically, probably somebody would have just run a copy of this or something, but we are not meeting physically. I don't have a scanner. I don't know whether any of you have a scanner. You want to pick it up and scan and make it a soft copy for us. I'm not too sure how that will work. But maybe by the close.
Please, is there any bookshop that we can easily get this?
I don't know. I doubt. Maybe you could try. You could try Legon Bookshop. I bought it quite a long time ago.
Well,
okay,
we can arrange and pick it up from you and then scan it and then return it back so we can share it.
Well, that is workable, and so we can decide how we want to do it. And I think doing it tomorrow will be an ideal time. The person picks it up in the morning, scan it, bring it back to me. Then maybe I can also use before Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay?
So please, what's the title again?
Your Kingdom Come. A book on holistic Christian development by Suleiman Jakonda. You will see some African map on it like that.
Okay.
Okay, so who will be coming tomorrow?
What is the name of the author again, please?
Jakonda. When you look on your list at the back, you will see it there. I think
So, Reverend, if you're going to be in the office tomorrow around lunchtime, I could pass by, or in the morning between 9 and 12, I could pass by and pick it up and then scan it and share the soft with my colleagues.
Okay, it's fine, but as long as I'll get the book early so that I can also.
Sure, definitely. I'll let you have it. I'll try and see if within tomorrow or tomorrow you can get it back.
It has to be tomorrow.
Hey, goodness, tomorrow I'm not coming to town. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Okay.
You are still working from the house. Michael, are you still working from home?
Yes, please. I'm still working from home.
Okay. Well, let's be thinking about it by close of.
Yeah, Thursday. Reverend, we can make it Thursday if nobody's available to pick it up tomorrow. Thursday, I'll be in the office. Tomorrow, I won't be in the office. So Thursday, I'll be in the office, and I can do that and return it to you that same day before evening class.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's about the course description. Definitely, you'll be writing some 2 papers for me on this one, and then those assignments will constitute your 40%, and then the exam at the end of the day will constitute your 60%, and then we are good to go. Some will be getting ready to finish school. That's all. Yeah, so that's how it's going to work.
Hallelujah.
Also, please make the 2 papers one. Let mercy find us. If we have found favor in thy sight, then let thy 2 papers be one.
Okay. I'm processing what you are saying.
God bless you, sir.
I'm processing it. I'll process it and see. Okay, so you've done the development already. So what comes to mind? How we talk about development? Did you hear what I said?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have finished. It's done.
Yeah, I know it's on. I'm just asking. What development is? Because you've already done theology of development. There's no wrong answer now. Let's all try. You just finished. Was it not last week or this week?
Yeah, I think it's just the definition that is running away from a lot of us.
No, you can do it. Don't just how you understand it. Say you are saying it in your own ways.
So from how me I understand it is the aspect or the act of helping communities to grow and become better in the diverse ways.
Okay.
And also say the economic well-being.
The economic well-being. So that's what.
Okay, I think.
Like
I also think how
one at a time. You can put up your hand or something. Yeah, who was talking? Who was talking?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. The process by which the church can help our communities to have a holistic growth. If we use what were thoughts, how Jesus grew, he grew in stature, he grew also in wisdom, in favor with God and then men. So how to help our communities grow mentally, mental growth, how to help our communities also have a relationship with God, how to help our communities have good social interaction and impact. And then what was the last one? I think it's escaping me, but I mean, basically that's how I see it.
In any other?
Well, from my side is Daniel Salifu. Development has to do with transformation, positive transformation, or let me say actions that would promote the sustainability of whatever you put in the system. And that has to do with the whole being, spirit, soul, mind, and body, ensuring that the future is maintained. And that is, for me, I think what development is. That if whatever you do, if the future cannot be sustained, then there are issues with development.
Okay. So what is the place of theology in development? What's the place of theology in development?
To help people grow in their knowledge of God and relationship with God.
Well, using the study of God to improve our society, what we know from God, how best we can use in developing the society.
The worldview, what the scriptural worldview is on development, and not just what the world view is on, or what the secular world view is on development, but then what in the mind of Scripture is the mindset of God through Scripture as it relates to development.
The mindset of God in Scripture for development. Is that what I hear you say?
Yes, what the scriptural worldview is for development. That's how theology comes in. As Christians, what's the concept of development for Christians or for Christianity?
That's powerful.
From my side, I think that before man can think about development, we understand that it is God who put in the structures in place. Whatever structures that we have, and we are talking about development, it's God who put them there. So for us to be able to do development in full or in wholeness, then we have to refer to God. So God is already at work, and we come in to carry on with what he has already put in place.
Okay. All right. So well said. There's more or less like just a thin line between what you did and what we are just about to do. So it may just be like a continuation of what you've already done. The theology of development is seeking to tell us about the place of God in the things we do. The place of God, what you have already done, which is the theology of development, is seeking to talk about the place of God in the things we do. Then the church and the community development is seeking to also emphasize, for example, what the representative of God, which is the church, what they are supposed to do in their community, how they are supposed to be relevant in their community. And that is a slight difference on probably what you did and what we are about to do. Do we get it? So what Calvary Baptist Church exists to do and how relevant Calvary is to the community we find ourselves in. And that is more or less the church and the community development. The theology of development is more or less the place of God with respect to development in community. Then what we are about to do is how the church will also ensure that there is development in the community. Basically, this is the difference. Are we together?
No, sir, can you come again, please? I just want to get it.
Okay, so I'm just saying that the theology of development is seeking to say God's manifestation with respect to development. And then the church and community development is what the mandate or what the church is supposed to do and how relevant the church is supposed to be as far as our communities are concerned. Did you get that?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Yeah.
I was just giving an example that one will expect that charismatic should impact Taifa. One should expect that Calvary should impact Adabraka or should impact Shashi. One should expect that Tesano should impact probably in and around Tesano and Abeka. But in whichever way they are supposed to. So the church's impact or the church's role as far as development in the community is concerned is what we're supposed to look at. I hope that is clear now.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, but the concept of development, I know like you've already all looked at the development. And I chanced on this quote. Can you all see it?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, Reverend.
If our Christian, if our Christian thinking does not change our way of life, either as individuals or as a nation, it could be accused of being something of a luxury. In other words, if the church, the thinking of the church does not change the way they operate, they will just be looked at as a luxury organization. Then another person says that Christians who affirm the lordship of Jesus with their minds and lips on Sunday and deny him on Monday, that is what an unbelieving world finds unbelievable. What comes to mind with these quotes?
Okay, so for me, it looks like the unbelievers seem not to um, like kind of, it's not possible. They don't see how possible it is to call yourself a Christian and just be a Sunday worshiper, but then you not living your life every day like as a Christian. Or they don't see how you can say you're a Christian and just be a Sunday worshiper. I think basically that's how I understand it.
So therefore, what are they expecting from the Christians?
Christianity should be an everyday thing.
Okay.
Well, for me, I think that this is talking about our mindset and behaviors. Our mindset and behaviors must communicate who we really are. Our identity starts from the mind, our behavior. But if that cannot communicate to tell our identity, then there's a gap.
All right. Kwame, you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that my colleagues have said, but to say that basically, you know, what we preach or the core or foundation of our faith is based on love, you know, the love of God that translated into salvation to mankind. And that love, Jesus demonstrated that love whilst, you know, his ministry was on earth through, I mean, teaching and developing people spiritually, but also physically, because in cases where sometimes Jesus would teach, he would be interested in people's physical or social composure or state. So this is just to say that we cannot say talk about, I mean, say we are Christians and yet when it comes to the everyday life, we sort of become withdrawn, you know, from issues that are related to social, economic, even psychological and all of that. It must be a holistic kind of faith, and that must translate in the way we behave and the way we live. Yes.
Okay. So if what we're saying is anything to go by, and for example, we'll be using Ghana as our case study. If, for example, they say that Christians in Ghana, we are more than 70%, we constitute about 70% of the population. And so what is happening? Why is there poverty? Why is there hardship? Why is there injustice? Why is there oppression? Why is there marginalization, inequality, and all kinds of things? Is it to say that Christians are not manifesting themselves enough, or what?
Or Reverend, for me, I have doubts on that statistic. To start with, I mean, but I mean, I get your argument. If we have more Christians in Ghana, then it presupposes that, I mean, we should see some kind of major dominance or impact or influence of this, you know, large segment of religious folks or Christians on the whole country. But the fact of the matter also is that a lot of the 70% It's just statistics. It's just people filling forms and saying that they are Christians. But you and I know that to say you are a Christian is not about choosing or taking an option on a paper. Christianity is a life. We must be Christians at heart. And that one, I'm not sure the statistics can tell us. But if we just going with the 70% as, the tangible statistics, then yes, you are right. We should be able to heavily impact our society in terms of, addressing all manner of issues. So whilst we teach people and preach salvation, which has to do with the spiritual side, we need to be able to also connect ourselves with the economic issues and social issues. So we talk about poverty, we talk about ensuring that there's fairness, and all of that. So yes, but that's just my initial submission in your question.
Seto. Seth, are you there?
The head of the set. We have two sets.
Oh, Mr. Chumesi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's your take? What's your take?
Sir, I'm coming. Just a minute.
So, Pastor, before he comes in, before he comes, maybe I can say something while he prepares to come.
Yes, please. Mr. Apia.
Yeah, so you see, this is an issue that when you want to be a serious Christian and serve God, it will be your headache all day long. Jesus' word that says that many are called, but few are chosen. And he said the narrow is the way, few find it, and broad is the way. So if you look at your church, members of the church, go back to the workplace and look at the Christians there. Count them. And then you number those who are really living the Christian life. You realize that this practical. You realize that sometimes you'll be seen as you who you are too known or something. You are the holier than that person. So for all of us steal, all of us lie, all of us do all other things. We move. When the wind blows, we move. You can count few remnants. So if you see that we are 70% Christian population and the corruption is on the higher side, I think that we are more than 70%. Either we are Muslims, they also profess holiness and serving God well. Christians, the same. The sins are committed by ourselves, we ourselves. If you look, just check around you. So to surprise you, that we sit in the classroom to learn. Some people, exams time, they copy from their books. Our class, this is our class. They copy from the book. So when we see these things, then you realize that where are we going? That's the problem. So we are not serious. We don't want to serve God well. We just want to be called by the name. Few people are serious. That's why we see these things.
So some people need to start confessing now.
Hello, Sofo.
Yeah,
hello.
Who is on the floor?
Yeah, just speaking.
Okay,
yeah, I just want to. Hello.
Yeah, Justice, you are on.
I just want to get something clear from my colleague who just spoke. So is he by this saying that because we are not obeying all these principles, that is why there is prevalence of poverty and then all those ones in the church, because we are going contrary to the biblical principles and all those ones. That is why the poverty now is very dense in the churches. Is that what he's trying to say?
I think what he's saying, not the churches, what he's saying is that we're trying to look at our country, Ghana, and why some of these things that are happening. And so he is saying that it's likely that we who call ourselves believers, Christians, who probably are in some of the offices, who have the life of the people of this nation in our hands, we seem not to be doing what we are supposed to be doing. And so therefore, there is injustice. And so therefore, there's corruption. And so therefore, people are being oppressed every day. What are we doing, for example, about gender inequality? What are we doing? And so we are not living like the earlier quote I just said, I posted. It's seeking to say that, for example, people are just Sunday Christians. They come to church on Sunday and profess they are Christians. But when you go into the world, they are not able to affect wherever they work. They don't affect their other colleagues. They just flow through the system like any other person. That is what I hear Mr. Aptia saying.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
That's what I hear.
Oh, okay. I've gotten it now.
Yes, please. Is Mario in this class?
Who?
Mario.
Yeah, I've graduated. Yeah, done.
But as I can see
Mario is done. Mario is done. He's from Aflaw.
Online. He's online.
I can see Mario online.
Mario, the class they be you.
Illegal mining. It's illegal mining.
Okay, so
Papa, I hold a slightly different opinion.
Okay.
So the research is saying that 70%, if 70% plus of the people say they associate themselves with the Christian faith, I don't think that is in doubt. I think that part of our job as leaders in church is to teach and train. And in any form of teaching and training, like in this class we have, there's definitely a grading scale in performance. And so we will all not perform at the same level. There's a grading scale in performance. And even as you introduce the subject to us, even the introduction to of the subject, how we respond and how we appreciate the subject which has come to us is also on different levels of understanding. And to that end, we won't see Christians behaving the same way. There are baby Christians, there are Christians, for the lack of a better word, that we'll say intermediate Christians, and we'll have more matured Christians. And as we get along, every day, I mean, the mandate of the church is to spread the gospel. And so there will always be newborn babies in church. There will always be people that are growing. There will always be matured people. And so as we grow, as we teach, as we continue to teach, we will realize that over time, the changes which we seek to see will be visible. But it will not happen in so quick a manner as we would have wanted to, because some people might have been so steep in their way before they met Christ. And sometimes it takes quite some effort to do the shaping. And so I don't doubt the numbers at all. What I would admonish is that then we understand what the role of teachers is, and teachers don't go to bed, but rather get to know that there's a lot more work to be done in teaching, in shaping, and in equipping the faith.
Okay. Well, I think this is just to let us know that there are needs all around us wherever we find ourselves. And so including where your church is located, including where you yourself as a clergy person you are located. When you turn to the left, you turn to the right, you turn to the south, front of you, above you, all around you, you will see all kinds of needs, all kinds of trouble, all kinds of injustice, all kinds of things happening in and around us. You will see poverty all around us. You will still see, in fact, I'm sure that some of the places you still stay, people are still defecating in gutters, people are still defecating by the seaside, and all kinds of things are happening. The question is, what are we doing as Christians, and what is the church doing? Why should the church exist, for example, in Adabraka, and people should still be struggling to get a place of convenience? Why should a church be in Nima and people should still be defecating around? What is the problem? Is the church not being relevant? Has the church gone to sleep? Are we being selfish? Are we being insensitive? Why should the church be around and the needs and all the things we see around should still be more or less perpetuating? And it's a serious questions we have to be asking ourselves and be reflecting on and seeking answers to some of these things. But for example, the book, the writer we're seeking to study, the material we are seeking to use, is saying that apart from the fact that we are just trying to be Sunday Christians, apart from the fact that we are not seeking to be the kind of believers we're supposed to be, apart from the fact that we are refusing to be the salt and the light in our congregation, in the nation, it is also because we have put so much dichotomy between a lot of things. There's so much dichotomy, and you don't even have to go far. If you take our Baptist fraternity, for example, there is a clear dichotomy between the church and the state. And that is why we say that for us, there is a separation of church and state. And so when they say separation of church and state, and people think that what that means is that the church is not supposed to do anything as far as the well-being of the state or the community is concerned. And so Jaconda is saying that it's because we have so much dichotomies. He also said that it's because probably our conception of what we think development is not okay. Our conception of development, he thinks is not okay. And so, for example, development for some people is just in economic terms. Is just in economic terms. And some conceive it as a social and economic term, and they try to look at the growth rate of the nation, the growth rate of the community. They try to look at it on a philosophical ground. They try to look at it by using, for example, the employment rate, by using, for example, the inflation and all kinds of things to tell whether a nation is developing or not developing. But what some scholars also want to say is that development goes beyond economic indices. Development goes beyond figures, because it is possible, for example, in Ghana, to have some level of economic growth and still people will be poor. It's possible to have some level of economic growth and we will still feel that the country is so crunched. We will still feel that nothing is going on. And that is why some scholars believe that development is not just in economic terms, it goes beyond economic terms. For example, in our African conception of development may not only look at probably the tangible material things you see, because for us, we believe the world is full of power. And the well-being of a society for an African and for us Ghanaian is not necessarily dependent on, for example, how much we work and how the growth, the kind of growth we want to see in monetary terms, because the powers, the spirit beings are there to ensure, and they help us to make sure that we have a peaceful society. And so it's not because of some the work of some intellectuals who come together and put some numbers together and the finance minister and all those things. For us Africans, it is not the finance minister who decides, who determines the growth of our community, who determines the growth of our nation, but the spirits, the powers. And so therefore, as an African, I cannot just conceptualize development just in economic terms. And so these are some of the reason, and it is believed that it is because people's conception about what development is not whole, it's not total, it's not complete, it is in part. And so therefore, their inability to understand what exactly development is hampering them or impeding them from taking, for example, the step they need to take, especially the church, the Christians, the step they need to take as far as their community is concerned. They are not able to do that because they lack understanding, they lack comprehension, they lack the right conception of what development is all about. Increased economic growth does not necessarily, that's what I mentioned earlier, does not necessarily mean a better life for the poor. It does not take place equally and ignores the more qualitative aspect of development. Development is more than meeting economic needs. And so anyone who defines it this way will not approach issues holistically. And that is what Jaconda is seeking to help us to say. So the dichotomy that brings a problem to us and impede us, for example, from doing what we're supposed to do is in two, the spiritual and the physical. We always bring differentiation. We always differentiate between the physical and the spiritual. Okay, the emphasis, the spiritual emphasizes the fact that the primary interest is the salvation of people's soul. Salvation was viewed mainly in individualistic and personal terms. And with that, sin is viewed mainly in a vertical way, and therefore an offense against God, but hardly on the horizontal as an offense against neighbor or God's creation. They have the mentality of preach the gospel, win the lost, and then all social ills will gradually vanish as the number of believers increase in society. So in looking at development, there are two schools of thought. The first school of thought says that development is just to look at the individual. Look at how the individual is made up. The development the church is supposed to engage in is to just take the Bible, enter into the community, preach the gospel, let people give their life to Christ, and that ends it. If they give their life to Christ, and as many people you win in the community, they are supposed to be the salt, they are supposed to be the light. And when they become the salt, and when they become the light, all the troubles you see in society will be over. And so the church doesn't have to wake up and say, I am going to do any social action, I'm going to take care of anybody, I don't have to go and dig a borehole for anybody. The Christian that has been won for Christ, situated in the community, is supposed to know that where he or she is, he's supposed to affect that particular locality. And so therefore, your duty as a church, or our duty as a church, is just to go preach the gospel, let people come to Christ, and it ends there. We have nothing, no business going to build any KVIP or anything whatsoever for the community. What do you think about this stance or this school of thought?
Also, please, I want to seek clarification. By this school of thought, are they saying that if somebody comes to evangelize to me and I join the church and I go and build the CDIP, it is not the church. Have I also been dichotomized as the individual is no longer a part of the unit?
We lost you a little bit though, but
yes, I'm saying that this view, if the church comes to evangelize to me, and I build after the evangelism, and I become a Christian, I build a KVIP for my people because they need it. Am I not an extension of the church, or I am seen as a different entity, and the church is also a different entity?
This is being done on a personal ground, not on a corporate ground, and you are just being a child of God. You are just being the kind of salt and the light God wants you to be. You are just shining as a believer, an individual believer in the community.
Okay, sir.
And so because you are there, the church in its budget will not have to allocate any budgetary or monetary this thing for any social action or anything. We don't have to do anything for the community. Our members are already there. And our members that we have won for Christ, they are supposed to shine and be the light. They are supposed to shine and be the salt. They are supposed to give taste. And so they are there. So as a church, a corporate body, we have no business, again, going to worry ourselves doing anything, because our members are supposed to live a good life.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So what do you think about this school of thought? And are we not doing it? Frank is in the house, eh?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Frank, what do you say?
I think it's a tough one, if you ask me. In the sense that it's the right school of thoughts. However, somebody also asked that, is that the main focus of the church? Are we there to just build schools, build KVIPs, do all these other things? However, they're also important, right? If, let's say, we go to a place, we do a massive crusade, maybe we spent about 50,000 to get all our equipment, and I mean, a really massive crusade, and maybe it could have just cost us 3,000 cedis or 5,000 cedis to maybe do a borehole for that community. I don't think that we should just do the crusade and leave.
But we are called to preach.
Yeah, we are called to preach. Yes, we are called to preach. However, I always say that Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith. At a point, he fed people because they had followed him for some time, and they were hungry, and it was through spiritual means. But if we have other means of, say, feeding people or giving them water to drink, I think it goes a long way to even remember what the people came to do. So, for instance, if we preach in a place and we leave with a borehole, that alone could keep God in their minds. I mean, every time we're like, oh, the church that came to do the crusade here is a church that gave us water. I mean, and we never know how God will use that small gesture to continue to evangelize
what you
those.
are saying, what you are saying in effect is that you think it's not okay for us to just preach. That's what you are saying.
Yes.
You think there's
although
something
that's
the church has.
Although that's the focus of the church, but I don't think it's okay for us to just preach. Okay. And then also we don't have to. The church is not also like an NGO or so that we are just there to be building schools, but then we preach, but at the same time we should have a quota for these other things.
Okay, Kwaku, what thing? Is Kwaku there?
Maybe before Kwaku, I want to comment on this.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, Rev, looking at what the early church did and what we are doing now looks like what we are discussing, the dichotomy we are looking at, where we are concerned about the spiritual side of the people and ignore, let me call it, the social aspects. But before now, when a church moves into a community, you could feel the impact of the church. And that's why we look at Ghana. Most of the best secondary schools were built by Roman Catholic, either Roman Catholic, Presbyterian, or Anglican. But this time around, we are more concerned about preaching to them, they being saved. But the other side, even if I build a school, I am running it on a profit venture, not on anything to impact the life of the people. So, for instance, even our course, for example, yes, it's a degree, everything, but if it has been in those days, probably it could have been a course running for free. so that we get more people to become pastors, more people to know the word and to impact others. But this time, if you don't have the money, you can't take the course. Even though you might have a calling upon your life, everything, but if you don't have money, you can't do it. So our concern has been, we are looking at the word, get saved, as a narrow definition of salvation, and the rest, do it yourself. So I'm not supporting this point. I believe that the church should look at it from a holistic approach. They are both the narrow definition of salvation and then the broader definition, where we have so much impact. I remember I read about Fountain Gate in the north, and you go, the kind of farms that Fountain Gate are doing, the members, people join the church. At times, others will join on a different agenda, but they end up knowing Christ through what they are doing. So I believe that we should look at it from that bigger approach than what we are doing now.
Okay, but if you decide to become a rabbi, people will follow you without paying money anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let me hear Kweku first before I come to you, Justice.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Kweku in the house or you're in the kitchen?
The Kweku, is it me or Boating? Or me? Yes, me. Okay.
No, Kweku Boating.
Okay.
Kweku Boating. Okay, he's not around. So, Justice, you can make your point there. Maybe if Mr. Pierre wants to say something.
Yeah, I want to also say that it is not enough the church only consider the spiritual aspect of the people. You know, in the 80s, I quite remember that when Pastor Evans Atiamwa brought Baptist Church to our community. In fact, there were some missionaries who accompanied him, and then they brought some bicycles. So they end up giving those bicycles to some individuals, and that made them those days to be part of the church.
So the bicycles
in a way, it has influenced them.
Justice, the bicycles are a bait.
Sorry?
The bicycles are just are they not a bait? They are using it to bait you to give your life to Christ. So the agenda is to preach for you to win you, but they are baiting you with bicycles.
Yes.
Oh, I don't think it's a bait. I don't think it's. I think it's a bait. No.
No.
The intention is
It depends.
Really...
It depends on the intent. It depends on the intent. I don't think it's a bait.
Okay, relax. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Who am I hearing?
Hello, Reverend.
Yes, please.
Okay, this it. I want to comment on this. Rev, I don't believe it's a bait. I remember those days in our village when we had the first Baptist in our village. They used to give us Tom Brown and wheat. And fine, probably someone might look at it as a bait, but to us, somebody might not come to church because of food, but giving us Tom Brown and wheat every Sunday, it was one of the greatest things that happened in the village. And many, if you go to my village, almost everyone became a Baptist. And just giving us the Tom Brown and the wheat, even though people had food, all kind of food. The Tom Brown and wheat was just so serious for us that, and they came in, probably the motive wasn't to use it as a bait, but at the end of the day, it helped us. It really helped us, and they were also able to achieve their aim of winning souls for Christ at that time in that village. So the motive is the main thing. If even you might come in without even sharing anything, but your motive is to come and exploit the people. People who set up church, come in, they will not say anything for you, but they will come and take your money. And all that is the motive. So the same way someone could give you bicycle and other things, but the motive is not just to come and do it, just to win souls for Christ. So
Okay. So maybe a very
Yeah,
quick.
I was on the floor before my network.
Okay, let's hear you as we move on.
I think that was what I wanted to explain before my line went off. So I think he has concluded my point. I'm not saying it's a bit though, but it's just an influence. We use that one to influence the people to Christ.
What's the difference?
Influence and bait.
Hello.
What's the difference between influence and bait?
Hello.
It's grammar.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Anyway, his network is jamming. But is there any difference between influence and bait?
Zavu, no. It's the same thing.
Oh, that was clear.
It's like the parties, the MP saying they are just giving something.
A bit makes things sound like there's a trap. Yeah, I associate bait with trap.
Okay.
Whatever the case may be. Now,
influence is even more dangerous.
Consider it in the context.
Anyway, it's okay.
Justice,
is okay.
Can I quickly chip this one in on this influence and bait? I think the focus, we should look at how Jesus approached it. I think the focus should first be on the spiritual development, because that's the core need of the church, as we all agree. Yeah. And then we look at other forms of development, whether social, health, because most of the time Jesus he'll be teaching to develop them spiritually, and then he will heal people too, as a way of, also demonstrating the power of God. So it's not like you go in first and then you go and give the bicycles as a influence or as a sort of to get their attention, but you go teach and then you show the love of Christ through giving. If it's going to be a bicycle or building a borehole, let them understand that, this is something we're doing because we want to, but it's not something we do that we tell you that, okay, if you come to our church, then we'll give you a bicycle. We shouldn't should I say trick? It's not trick, it's not a trickery thing. Okay. Let's give them the unadulterated word of God and then demonstrate the love. After Jesus had finished preaching his sermons, he would feed people. People were hungry, and then he blessed the loaves and the fishes and fed people. But the feeding of the people was not what preceded before the teaching. So that's just something I wanted to add on. Thank you.
Okay, Sinclair. Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to add that we have lost certain church members to Islam because of things that were being offered. Things that were not beyond us to offer. So I think that we ought to take a holistic look at this, even as we join ministry, because there are certain basic things which we could have done, which we didn't do. And to certain people, if you go to Fadama, the Christians who go and eat at the chief imam's place, it will even amaze you and surprise you. So I think that the church really needs to look at this area.
I don't agree.
Chris, you say what?
That comes to church too,
from my little, I think what really enlightened me was the church history we did. And I saw how that strategy failed. Anytime there was starting the mission with giving gifts and all of that before, giving the people the gospel, you realize that it ended up being futile. So, I'll just support what Osofo Freduya said. The most important, and I don't know why sometimes for me, I believe that salvation is crucial. It's an issue of life and death, you see. And so the person must, and I think that is where maybe today is leading to what we see now, the fruits we are seeing, because a lot of the time people are preaching, we talk about even if we don't give gifts, we seem to present the gospel as a solution to all your world's problem. You see, not making you know that you have sinned, and you know the totality of the gospel. So that must go first. And then when you now join the family, like in the book of Acts, then we'll begin to share with each other and no one will have any need. And I don't really bow to the cliche that if you don't give people this, they will go into the world. No, if you want to go to hell, is that it?
Yeah.
You know,
I say
because
amen to that, Reverend Sinclair.
yeah, because you can gain the whole world and lose your soul. So
Sure.
why is it that it's now about, you know, and that is now the kind of, if you stand by the roadside, the whole preaching is, oh, it's oh yeah, oh bad. But there's a bigger sickness, you see, which we can heal you of cancer. And if your soul, you know, if you've not given your life to Christ. So I believe that the equation must be right. We are not negating the fact that we should cater for the needs of the people. But the first thing is getting the person saved. Then we move to number 2. That is what I'll say, please.
Okay, so yeah, so these people, yeah, they believe that the church has nothing to do. Their core mandate is to preach the gospel. And as the gospel is preached and people come to Christ, we expect that they will be good disciples. And as good disciples, they will be salt and light in their communities. And as long as they are salt and light and shining wherever they find themselves, the evil, the injustice, the corruption, and all the risks you see in community will vanish. And so therefore, the church do not have any further things to do apart from to preach for people to come to Christ. All right. So those are the spiritual, those who hold a spiritual view. Then you have the physical side as well. Those who emphasize the physical. They focus on the transformation of social structures or society so that the world will be a better place to live in. They say sin was perceived mainly as a social injustice, and sin was neglected. And then they believe that society will only change if it is restructured socially, politically, and economically. Okay, so this is what they believe. So they expect that people and the church, for that matter, will rise up and speak to social ills, social evil, speak to corruption, speak to injustice. And as long as you speak to some of these things and get it corrected, you are sorted. There's nothing like any spiritual dimension. You don't need any spiritual thing to do anything. You have the ability, you have the power. Speak, interrogate the system, expose whoever you need to expose, just so that people will do the right thing. So this school of thought is also there. And when you see anything going wrong, what you can do about it, do. And they emphasize, for example, the social activities, and they are the social gospel preachers. And they will use, for example, things to lure people to come to them. And they will, for example, when you look at the courts, that is what they use a lot. Social action, social action, social action. Good works, good works. When you do good works, you speak against evil, you expose evil, then you are doing what you are supposed to do in society. And so you see some conservatives, some liberals, even some evangelicals, their job is to just do some of those things in society. What about that as well? So maybe we can ask, doing some of these things, Is it a bait or is it a breach?
Hello, Reverend.
Yeah.
Yes. Please, for the second one, those that focus on only physical, for me, I see like they've lost the match. They are not doing it right, because looking at, it's not a physical battle. Christianity is purely spiritual. The
But it's
physical
not,
comes to enhance.
it's not Genesis.
Yes.
Genesis, Nima people will eat. Oh.
I understand.
Don't eat
No,
Leviticus.
Reverend, yes, I agree. I agree. That's why I use the example of the Tom Brown wheat in my village. Yes, but your aim is the spiritual, but the physical is coming to enhance the spiritual side. So if you are focusing only on the physical, I don't want to mention names of certain denominations, but it's common that they will come, and I mean, he will read whatever is supposed to read. That's all they've closed. They go and inaugurate the new borehole, the new school, the classroom block, and all that. That's the whole work of the priest or of the pastor.
Is that not it? Like I said, what do you call it? What do you call it? Numbers and all those books you see in the Bible, they won't pay electricity bill. They will not pay your child school fees. And people have lost their jobs. There's corruption everywhere. And you are saying what? What has the spiritual got to do with physical?
Yes, we know those ones are physical, but the battle is not a physical battle; it's a spiritual battle. And salvation is purely spiritual.
But you are
salvation
in a battle.
is
Nobody
purely
else
spiritual.
You are in a battle. Let me hear.
Maybe somebody wants to add.
Richard.
Reverend, even today, my idea, but I'm using practical example. I only ate in the morning. As I'm sitting here right now, very hungry.
You don't have money to buy food.
I have money to buy food, but I couldn't get time to go and eat. I'm using that one practically to contribute to what we are discussing.
Okay.
So, as I'm sitting here, I am very hungry. The spirit is yearning to follow what is going on, but the body is weak. So you can't ignore the physical. So what I suggest is that as churches, we can merge the two, because you can't go and preach to someone who is very hungry and you said you concentrate on the spirit only. Whenever you preach, the person will not even listen to you. So I suggest that we should merge the two. And I think as we merge the two, we'll be able to. So Reverend, you said something, are we using it as a bait? So I concord with that, as a bait
or a breach.
Yeah.
Is it a bait or a breach? Social action.
Yeah. A bait.
It's a bridge. It's a bridge, not a bait.
It's a bridge. It's a bridge.
It should
Reverend.
be a bridge.
Well.
Yeah, Reverend.
Wait, can I add my voice again?
Okay,
Reverend, let's get this bit and then what clear for.
We are trying to contribute to it.
So quickly,
so I want to get. Let me hear Kwame. Then after that, I hear Mr. Pia.
In a few seconds, let me just say that in the beginning, let's look at the focus of God. God created everything for man, and then created man. And then man's composition, as God did creation, was to create man as a physical being, but also as a spiritual being. So he created physical things so that man's needs in terms of physical or psychological, man would receive those needs or would have those needs met. And so the environment and everything, the clean air to breathe, food to eat, and all of that was for this physical. But God also established himself and man to have a relationship, and that was a spiritual side. So if any school of thought wants to focus on one extreme side, I believe that doesn't really help us as humans, because the totality of man is both spirit and body, so to speak. So it's a metaphysics, it's a spirit, it's a supernatural. Let me use that word. It's a supernatural kind of thing. So we deal with the spirit man, and we also take care of the physical man. So that's how I believe we need to balance this. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah, Reverend, I was looking at this. I think my thoughts have been shared by two people. It should be a mixture of the two. But if you look at Paul, what Paul wrote and said, that he is careful that he doesn't want to be a castaway after he has preached the gospel. Right. So it's like he's also interested in his spiritual development. Now, this second school of thought, if you read through, I was thinking about what is their motive, what is the end result, what do they want to achieve? When we give all these things to the people, at the end of the day, so that the economic pressure is eased, they are free, or what? Or after their death, what happens? So I was thinking
to ensure the well-being of people, to ensure that there's no social ill, to ensure that everybody is comfortable, there's poverty is not there, and we all living a decent life.
Right. And then when the person dies, what happens?
We don't care what happens after death.
Okay. Because I saw
we don't care at all.
I saw
that the position of the second group of people that they don't care at all.
No, David, relax. Mm-hmm.
I saw a line there that says that sin is social injustice, but personal sin is neglected. You see, when I saw that, I realized what they are trying to mean. I agree with you. If personal sin is neglected, then they are not interested in their spiritual well-being, where they go, but just that society should be free. And I think this is a dangerous part. If Christ came because of this, I don't think that's why Christ came. Thank you.
Reverend, can I say something? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's internet has frozen.
Yeah. I'm back now. You see, that's why I think the three of us were saying we should merge it. Hello?
Hold on. I think Reverend Felix is gone off. Hello.
Yeah, I'm sure you will join back.
Solve his physical need. Let's solve his physical need rather than spiritual. At this moment, he needs spiritual help, physical help.
So who provide us physical help?
Yes,
please provide the
please try provide physical
help. You see, when you just mentioned my name,
he has appeared.
The spiritual dimension is working. You see, he has
appeared.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can hear you. Welcome back.
All right. So basically, these are the two extreme views as to how, with respect to development, and you don't have to go far. You will see churches that fall on these lines. I mean, churches, even in Baptist circles, that fall within these lines. Some say that your duty is just to preach. Others say that no, it's not enough. Just do this, and then forget about it. But we say that the dichotomy was between the spiritual and the physical, and emphasize either Christ's divinity or his humanity at the expense of the other. Focusing on Christ's divinity is good and important, but unless accompanied by his humanity, that's his identification with human beings, his hunger, his pain, his compassion, there will not be developmental balance. The church gets its motivation for humanitarian action and service, others from Christ and his humanness. If this is overlooked, then meeting the physical needs of others becomes devalued. How do you understand this? Is this statement clear?
Yes.
Francis?
Yes, I am digesting the statement.
Processing it.
Shall we? Michael? Michael Wada? Where is Michael? See how Zoom can do 419. Stephen.
I'm here.
I'm here. Hey, you ran from the kitchen. You ran from the kitchen or you're from the bathhouse?
It's your mutuo.
I'm listening.
So, Reverend, let me share my thoughts. And I think this statement is similar to the discussion we've been having. And I feel this statement more or less is buttressing the point that some of us have advanced in terms of, not only focusing on the spirituality, but also on the humanity side. So this is a good, summary or way of putting it too. That yes, the nature of Christ, as we've all believed through our faith, is that Christ is both human and is both God. So there's a spiritual side and there's a humanity side. The humanity side of Christ needs to eat. Scripture says in the book of Matthew that after Christ had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry and he needed food to eat, perhaps some water to drink too. He was in a spiritual exercise, trying to strengthen and, empower his spirit. But, the physical aspect of his being needed to also eat some physical food. So it's a combination of the two. And anybody that, again, wants to just, point us to just focus on the extremities, I don't think would help us. So this is sort of also buttressing the point we're making.
Okay, awesome. Stephen?
Sir?
Yeah, let's hear you.
Okay, so I've been following the discussions. I think this last note, for me, the little I'm picking from this last note is the fact that picking the extreme of even the spirituality alone is good. Perhaps looking at the fact that focusing on Jesus Christ's identity is good. So that notwithstanding, the balance must be there. I'm yet to find a church per se that focuses on only the physical. Then I wouldn't call that a church any longer or anymore. But I'm wondering what church or which church will focus mainly on just the physical, because the church is not, as we know, a physical entity, but a spiritual entity. So I believe the angle towards maybe focusing on the spiritual, but balancing with the physical is the angle that many churches should actually strive to go along. So that's my contribution to what is going on.
Okay. Who has not spoken? Salifu.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Yeah, I think that you look at Jesus, both, in fact, fully human, fully divine, and fully human. He's the perfect development person because he cared for the needs of humanity. And he also cared for the spiritual lives of the person. He looked at people, they were harassed like a sheep without a shepherd, and he had compassion on them. They were hungry, and when this child had some fish and loaves, he made sure that he fed them. In Matthew chapter 25, it talks about the sheep and the goats. I was hungry, and you fed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothes. So, yes, for me, I believe that Jesus clearly demonstrates the perfect development of the approach that the church should take. It's not that we neglect the spiritual aspect, but we are simply saying that the person is body, soul, and spirit. For the person to have wholeness, you have to tackle everything. You can't disassociate one from the other. If the soul is not there, of course, it's just a container. If the body is not there, of course, then you know what happens. So the body, there's blood flowing, everything must work. And that person who has blood and who breathes daily and needs shelter needs to live in an environment of wholeness. So for me, I think that the Jesus, his person clearly tells us that we who are his followers should follow his example.
Awesome.
Hello, Reverend.
Yeah, Justice.
Let me seek some clarification. Something is baffling me. I have a church in my area. This church has established some welfare. It's not Baptist church anyway. They've established some welfare within the church. And then those who are outside the community normally contribute that towards a particular welfare. Now, when, let's say, somebody pass on, and that particular person is contributing that welfare, and he or she is not even attending the church, he or she will be buried by the church. But when a member is in the church, even though he's regular and doing all other things by welfare, the church will not bury that particular member. In fact, I want to seek clarification. With that one, are they seeking the physical aspect, or they are seeking the spiritual aspect?
Okay. So I think your question, if I understand you, is that you have a church, a Baptist church. They have instituted a welfare fund.
No, it's not a Baptist church. It's not a Baptist church, Reverend.
A church.
Yes.
There's a church.
Not a Baptist church.
Yeah, that's fine. They have instituted a welfare fund, and that welfare fund is for both
yes
people in the community and the church members. If the
not
Are you there?
I think you lost it.
Okay. Did you hear his question? I thought I heard that.
Yeah. Not both people in the community and the members of the church. For the people, it's for no, for the members in the church. But when you are not, the church will not bury you, even though you are regular at church. But those who are paying the welfare and they are not regular at church, the church.
Okay. The welfare fund is for the church members, but if you are paying regularly,
yes, please.
If you are paying regularly and you die, they will bury you. Even though you are a church member and you are not paying regularly, when you die, they will not bury you.
Yes.
Honorable members,
Yes.
what do you think?
I think in this regard, the church is a
So what's the
microfinance
question, please?
The question is asking is that what are they? Are they physical oriented or spiritual oriented? What kind of church or nomenclature is that?
They're operating like a microfinance.
Obviously, it's fiscal.
They're operating like a microfinance.
Yes, Reverend.
The church NGO.
Okay, okay, Reverend.
No contribution, no job, that kind of thing, you know.
Okay. Reverend.
Yes. Are you answering the question?
They said no. Yes, I'm answering the question.
Okay.
I'm using an example to answer the question. Rev, this is very common in most churches, even in most Baptist churches. It's just
true.
that yes has been linked only to burial, but in a church that I know, the welfare, and I know others also know it. The welfare, we have a welfare system that we contribute towards funeral donation. And if we're a member, you come to church every Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. If you fail to pay the welfare and you have any funeral, either your mother, your son, or whatever, the contribution towards the welfare, the contribution from welfare will not come because you are not part of the welfare. Right.
Yes.
So I believe probably, yes, my only challenge is that it's linked to burial. That I feel maybe the church can re-look at it. But other than that, if it's on contribution for a certain support, that's the church policy. That so far as you are a member of the church, yes, there are other aspects of the church that will look at it for you. But when it comes to this side, you have to contribute to enjoy. And when it happens that way, you might be paying your tithe every time, paying your offering, but the welfare contribution is for welfare and it should be treated as such. When it happens that way, I don't have any problem with that.
In their case, they will not turn up for the burial at all because you are not paying the welfare.
Well,
even though you are regular.
well, like I say, I mean that.
I think it's normal in a lot of churches. It's normal because you can be a church member, and the policy guiding the welfare policy guiding the whole thing is that if anything should happen to you and they check the books, even in Presby Methodist, they check the books and they realize that you don't pay your dues, they don't contribute. They can send representatives to go to your funeral, but any kind of benefits, let me put that you are supposed to get, you don't get because they don't use church money as in the offering itself to do that. They've agreed as a church to use that contribution to be supporting people in case someone should die.
Okay, I think that the emphasis should not be on the fact that because you don't contribute, for example, if you're in something, we cannot solidarize with you. I think that will be to the extreme. For example, that the example Justice is giving, because of that, even when you die, the church has nothing to do with you. But for example, we bury people who are not even our church members. So why would a church want to stretch to that point by saying that because the person is not in regular in paying time, then we have monetized the system, and that is to the extreme, and I don't think we should emulate that. For example, in our place at Abraka or Calvary, we also have some of those welfare system, and when we realize that what we give when somebody is bereaved, for example, is so small, we decided to migrate everyone as much as possible into an insurance scheme, just so that when probably something happened like that, you also be cushioned, you have something, and the scheme is such that you can pay as little as 1 cedi or 2 cedi. However, if you are not a member, or if you've not subscribed to this scheme, there's something the church will surely give you, just that it will not be enough. The reason why we have to do this insurance scheme for members is because what we give, we feel is not adequate, it's not okay. But even if someone is not able to subscribe to the insurance scheme thing, the person will still be taken care of. The person will still be given something if he or she is bereaved. So our focus is not really on NCNC or no contribution, no chop. And right. I think we should not emphasize or go to some of those extremes because one way to be relevant to your community is also to even go beyond and being nice to even people who are not part of you. Then how much more the people who are part of you are supposed to disciple? I think some of these measures we have to look at it a little bit.
Well said, Reverend.
Yeah. So this last slide is just supposed to say that the same way, for example, that like Salifu said, that the humanity or the divinity cannot be separated. The same way should our work as a church with respect to our community must be together. So the spiritual and the physical must work together in ensuring the wholeness and the well-being of the community. And so we will preach the gospel, and as and when the need arises, we have to also ensure to take care of some of those needs as well. And it is because of this dichotomy that we put in between things, for example, like we are saying. That is why the church is more or less laid back, and what they are supposed to do in their various communities, they are not doing it. That is why they will not be part of any socio-economic issues or anything whatsoever in the country. But this dichotomy has to be removed, has to be wiped off, because you cannot, the same way you cannot separate the body, the soul, and the spirit, you cannot, you must not separate these duties that you have to your community. These extremes are not okay. So therefore, there's a third suggestion, and that is to have a holistic development. And that seems to be a broader concept than just having just these two extremes and then operating with. So Motive defines it, he defines it as every biblical-based activity of the body of Christ, his church, that assists in bringing human beings or humanity towards the place of complete reconciliation with God as spiritual and complete reconciliation with their fellows and their environment. And so it's seeking to more or less touch on the holistic development of all the risks we are doing. So it's not compartmentalized or split into two or any of those things. It concerns itself with both personal salvation and transformation of the saved into a kingdom community. This community is involved in the transformation and restoration of the world. Thus, Christianity is only complete when personal salvation displays itself in social services, emphasizes both vertical and horizontal relationship with respect to the community. And so the third force, the third concept that when we talk about development that the church is more or less supposed to charter is the idea that when we have been saved into a community, or we have become a kind of a kingdom community. And that kingdom community is supposed to also translate its mandate into the community, the other community, the environment that he finds himself, in order to do two things or more than two things. That is to make sure that the spiritual dimension, salvation of the people within the community is taken care of, and then the physical dimension of social activities, of ensuring the well-being of even people within your community that probably do not even belong to your fold, and ensuring that that is what we the development Christ is seeking us to do, or the church is supposed to embark on that kind of development, the holistic development is what is being expected from all of us as a church. Any take on that?
Reverend, that's what we've been saying all along. So I think personally, I subscribe to this.
Yes.
This proposal, the school of thought. I think this is much better. This is more it speaks more to Christian fundamentals and our core mandate or mission as Christ would have us do. So this is more, as we are talking about how we're focusing on the spirit and then the transformational agenda, in a holistic sense. I think this is much better, if you ask me.
This is what we're supposed to do. This is the school of thought we're supposed to subscribe to as a church. And we must be aware that our being in a community is not, we can't split it. It has to be total. For us to be able to ensure the development of the people, it is not an aspect, just taking an aspect and seeking to work on that. You must be holistic as far as the development is concerned. And that is what we subscribe to. All right. Did you look at Jesus's manifesto in your theology of development?
No, please.
No,
I don't think so.
That Luke 4. Did you look at Luke 4?
Luke chapter 4.
No, sir. We didn't.
The Spirit of the Lord is on me because He has anointed me.
No.
I think we look at.
Pardon me. Francis, yours is clear. Could you answer? I can't hear.
No, please.
Okay.
No, please. We didn't
look at Luke 2:50.
Okay, that's the supposed to be individual development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be individual development. Okay, so I kindly just read it. Read Luke chapter 4, verses 18 to 19. Read it before we come to class on Thursday. Did you touch on something like development realities? Pardon?
Yeah, I think there was a general discussion around it, but I don't know if you are talking about something specifically in terms of development realities.
Like African development realities.
This is quite contextual. I don't think we did any, thing like that.
But you've looked at what poverty is.
Yes, I think we discussed some levels of.
Yes, we did poverty.
And you look at the fact that the causes of poverty is historical, is social.
Nope.
No, sir.
That's the general nature of poverty.
The scope is broad.
Okay. All right. So I think that is what, like I said, introduction for today. And so we can end here and then continue maybe on Thursday. I posted something on your page. I don't know whether you all saw it.
It's not too clear.
It's not too clear.
Not very clear, really.
Okay,
it's
so
like a matrix, like a table.
It's a table.
If we can get a scanned version.
Well, so maybe when you do it, I took it from the book. So
when
maybe
I pick the scan.
Yes, when
I do the scan, it will be much better.
It just try to summarize, for example, all the risks we've been trying to do. And so when you take this at a glance, you look at it. It wants to look at the cultural dimension. You want to look at the scene components, the gospel and salvation component, objectives of evangelism, how a society is changed our stewardship. So it seeks to say that what the church's activity to the community, we are stewards, and we're supposed to be able to preserve, take care of the community. It's seeking to say that. And it says that the source of theological truth is Bible contextualized rather than the Bible, just the Bible. So that's exactly what we've been saying all this time. So you take the Bible, which is just the spiritual. When you take the Bible, it must be contextualized in the community you find yourself in. And so you cannot just be preaching without being relevant to the community. And that is why I once somebody says that people are becoming so heaven conscious that they lose their earthly relevance. And as a church, we cannot just be so heavily conscious, spiritual conscious, and forget that people need to eat, and forget that people drink water, and forget that there's mosquito, and forget that there has to be latrine and all those things. And so when we look at that, when we get a book, we can all be looking at it while discussing it. All right, any question? Yes, please.
I just want to find out about the fees.
Okay. As it is now, you are not a student in this
Actually, I don't know. Sorry?
As it is now, you are not a student in good standing.
Oh.
So don't worry.
Why,
so,
Reverend?
Yeah, so I have
the church will take care of your development. Don't worry.
So you need to get in touch with me, Amwaku and the rest. I have your admission letters with me, so you need to pass by and pick it up.
All right.
And so kindly,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, do a banker's draft. You have to pay 4,400. So you do a banker's draft in the name of Ghana Baptist University College, and then you bring it to me. Justice, did you
Please,
hear?
at which bank?
Do it in a bank. It's a banker's draft I want, as long as...
Yes, sir. At which bank? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So all those who just join, kindly just do a banker's draft in the name of Ghana Baptist University College. And as much as possible by Friday, if I have the draft, I'll be glad. Are we good?
Reverend, any notes on the foundational courses? When are we taking those? The foundational.
We'll take it before you're done.
Wow. The Lord says I'll live up to a centenary, so I have a long time.
Reverend, the foundational course, is it the ones we did on hermeneutics and homiletics? Is it that one?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. But I think he's left with 3, and that's what he's saying. So what I said was what I said was that I will waive the NT and then OT. And so what you will do is just a systematic theology. So the studies you've already done, we will use it to cover for your NT. And yeah, so now those who are about finishing, you will now just do systematic theology and you should be fine. So that one will be done. Kwame?
Yeah, Reverend. Oh, okay.
Did you do any of the earlier foundation courses?
No. Myself and Osofo Francis. We came. We didn't have the opportunity to do all of those ones.
Never mind. It will be done. We'll do all.
Okay.
We'll do it. You don't have to worry.
No problem. Thank you.
Yes, please. So please, those who need to bring me the banker's draft. Don't let my development delay.
Sorry. Last thing. the exams results. Is it the practice of the university that we will get to see the results of the exams we did?
Yeah, you should be able to. And so normally, what will happen is that when you take the exam, we take it to Cape Coast. Then we take it to Kumasi. The Kumasi takes it to Cape Coast for moderating. And the reason why sometimes we don't like to give the marks out is that sometimes it goes to Cape Coast. Then they'll say that, okay, this marks is too low, let it go high. Or it's too high, let it come low. I mean, we are not on our own. Our supervisory university is UCC, and that's where your certificate is going to come from. And so that is why sometimes there's some level of delay.
But it will come eventually.
Oh, it will come.
All right.
As it is now, I have marked, or we have marked, and we have the grace, but it will not be okay to just give it to you when it has not been vetted.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Sir, please, one more question. You mentioned that we might have to do some in-person meetings. Do you have a day in mind where you would want to meet us in person?
Maybe we'll try 2 days next week.
Okay, sir.
But for Reverend Thompson, like I said, he wants in person, so it's going to be throughout probably for him. And he will be teaching you 2 courses.
2 courses.
Yes.
This will affect our development.
Yes, physical development, physical and spiritual, both.
But this have a physical impact on it.
Pocket development.
It will affect it positively, right?
So in a negative way.
Hello, I didn't get that.
Very negative way.
All right, so when you meet him, you can tell him your grievances.
Oh, Rev, you have to lobby for us.
Sorry, Reverend, permission to sign off and then go into the hospital premises.
Please,
thank you very much.
May the Lord heal your daughter. In
Amen.
Jesus.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay. In absence of any further, then we can adjourn till Thursday, God willing. Same time. So Kweku Boatin has not spoken, so he can pray for us.